I often wonder what our world would be like if we didn't have the oceans. Us humans rely on the oceans for so much for a variety of things. At the rate we are going, our oceans and our marine life that live within them will start to dwindle. The ocean provides us with so much, like food, water, and oxygen, and in return we do things like litter, pollute, and trash the oceans. Now don't get me wrong, there are natural causes that contribute to the problems within the ocean, like volcanic eruptions, for example. In fact, I'll be talking and explaining about pollution, global warming, and volcanic eruptions and how they are affecting our underwater ecosystems. To start things off, pollution is a major problem. Whether it's littering, oil spills, or industrial waste, they all contribute to the deterioration of the ocean. All the waste that gets sent out to our waters ends up being consumed by the animals and destroying their habitats. Think of the pesticides we put in our grass. When it rains, all those pesticides go down our sewage drains and gets emptied out into the ocean. The litter that gets to the ocean, like plastic wrapping for example, have the chance of getting tangled up with the coral, which can cause them to break, ultimately resulting in the destruction of our corals and the habitats of animals. On the website aliens.com, they state how the Citarum River has trash in it from over 500 factories. That statement itself is just unbelievable. Oil as well imposes a detrimental effect on the water's ecosystem. According to the website, on the 9 biggest oil spills in history, the Ixtoc 1 oil spill released up to 140 gallons of crude oil. Can you imagine how much this impacted the ecosystem? Let's look at coral, for instance. If the oil is covering the surface, that means it's blocking the sunlight, resulting in corals not being able to photosynthesize as effectively, or just not at all. Moving on to one of the natural disturbances, global warming. Global warming is one of the main contributors towards coral bleaching. With coral bleaching, which is when the coral loses its vibrant colors and turns white, a lot of habitats for animals are lost. Think of it as a person losing their house because of something they can't control and becoming homeless. Sounds pretty unfair, doesn't it? Eventually, animals could die from this, resulting in our food source or sources becoming limited. Another part of global warming is the greenhouse gases that contaminate the air. With more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the temperatures of the oceans are rising, which means the pH of the waters are changing as well. Take glaciers as an example. The hotter the water gets, the faster they melt, which means that there will be more salt in the water, raising the salinity levels and the water levels also rising. There are a number of natural disturbances that affect the oceans, but the last one I will be talking about is volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruptions also contribute to the change in sea level. When a volcano erupts, it sends hot lava into the water that heats the water up, causing more evaporation to occur, which in the end causes sea levels to decrease. At the same time, eruptions also inject scattering aerosol into the stratosphere and thus impose a significant radiative cooling in the atmosphere, which is stated by the website pnas.org. This shifts us to the water cycle and how these eruptions affect it as well. As stated by nature.com, volcanic particles in the air reflect sunlight back into space, which cools the surface below, shifting patterns of evaporation and precipitation. The particles that get released into the air can change the water cycle, enough to alter the amount of water in nearby rivers for several years. That's just insane that one natural occurrence can alter so many things. This shows how effective volcanoes are on not only water temperatures, but the water cycle too. To sum it all up, the oceans are going downhill. With all the pollution, trash, and temperature differences, it doesn't look like they will ever get better. I remember the time I went scuba diving. Being underwater with everything made me realize even more how sad it all is becoming. The corals were losing color, not many fish were living within them anymore either. To top it off, there's even some bottles and trash I saw as well. Global warming is gradually getting worse. Although people are starting to use electric cars more often, pollution will always remain a problem, and volcanic eruption aren't really able to be stopped since it's all natural. At the rate everything is going, the Earth won't be as suitable for living as we would like it to be.